Good morning and welcome to a very damp start to September. It's the beginning of the month and at the moment I'm on a little water in the famous village of Yateley, where unfortunately we're not going to be talking about this venue. I'm just down here to do a night, but in about an hour and a half's time I'm going to be joined by long-time carp angler Alan Cooper, who's going to be taking me down to the Ringwood area, where we're going to be spending 72 hours in one of the most famous carp waters in England, the Roach Pit, and I cannot wait to get started. Right then, so here we are then, we're on the banks of the famous Roach Pit and I'm joined by the owner Alan Cooper, and Alan's owned this lake now for quite a few years, but it is a very historical water, this venue, isn't it, Al? It's been around carp fishing for a long time.
Yeah, I mean the lakes obviously were dug early 80s, and I think that they finished digging it around sort of mid 80s, and then some fish were introduced by the club and other anglers at the time, it really came to prominence sort of 15 years later when the fish got to substantial sizes, and people they turned up on people's radars then, really, as you know, big 30 pounders and 40 pounders, and so for the last 20 years it's been a very well-known venue and regarded, I suppose, as a circuit water for people that were going around looking for big carp to catch.
Mm-hmm. How big is it, mate? How much water you got here?
So we got 24 acres. It's a 27-acre site, 24 acres of water. Got about 30 swims on the lake in total. And I mean, currently we've got 100 carp in here, of which about 20 are the originals. You know, they're slightly more desirable. I mean, the ones that I've put in here over the last 8 years since I purchased it in 2012, they're all equally as desirable, but the other ones have got that little bit more because they're originals. So you know that's what everybody would want to catch. You know, if you can catch one original in the year and catch a few others throughout the season, then like you've had a good season on it.
Okay, mate, so what sort of sizes are the fish at the moment then? So the originals over 40 still?
Yeah, we've got a couple. The Pug and Jamie's are both 40 pounders, and there's probably half a dozen others over 35. I mean, it's mainly the males that are left now. All of the big females have gone, you know, because they're 30, 35, maybe even a little bit, number of years older than that, and they've all passed on now. You know, they've done their time, but but out of the 20 originals, there's probably half of those are 30 pounders. And we've got, out of the fish that I've put in here, there's probably another 3, 4, maybe 5 40s at the right time of year at the moment. But of course, those fish are 10, 12, 14 years old, and they're still got a good few years growing in front of them.
Could be 50 pounds in a few years' time.
Yes, there's definitely two of them that should make the grade, as long as they last long enough. They'll get to £50 in the next 5 years.
So feature-wise, then, what we got, because it is a big piece of water. Looking at it from where I've been, is that end to the right as we look at it now? Is that at the shallow end, and then this is the deeper end?
Yeah, I mean it's not shallow. You know, we haven't got a nice big 4 foot deep bay that's full of weed. It's good for spawning and all of that sort of thing. I mean, it's what I would regard as a deep traditional gravel pit. So we haven't got huge reed beds or anything like that you would get with the shallower gravel pits. But there's a bit of everything out here. You know, between where you and I are fishing at the moment, out here there's a big plateau out there that's got 6-7 feet of water on top of it, and you know, off of that plateau you've got 10-12 feet, and out round this corner here, you know, in the winter time when the lake's full up is like 16 feet of water out there. That's the deeper area. But then there are up in what we call the shallows, because it's slightly shallower up there. You know, there's a plateau of about half an acre that's only 3 foot deep. But then right next to that it drops down to like 11 feet straight off the side of it. So yeah, there's a nice mixed bag of features here and there.
We've got a lot of weed dotted about as well, haven't we? So it's perfect haven for carp.
It's traditionally quite a weedy lake. You know, even though it's relatively deep, there's, you know, 50% of your fish that you hook during the summer months you have to go out for in a boat and to extract them out of the weed beds.
Okay, yeah. So big piece of water, famous water, loads of carp in it. How's it run today, mate? Is it an exclusive syndicate?
Yeah, so obviously over its history it's been a club water, and then CMEX had leased it out to, I think it was Christchurch Angling, and it was run as a club ticket, and then CMEX, they saw its potential once it started doing lots of 40 pounders, they took it back and ran it as a syndicate, and then obviously since I purchased it off of them it's a closed shop syndicate now. We've got a 50-man syndicate on here, so it keeps it very quiet. Certainly midweek like now there's only you and I on the lake. And we've got a waiting list in operation, but that's full up. We've got 100 names on that, so that's probably the guys that have got the tail end of that waiting list are looking at a 10-year wait, and it'll be at least 5 years before I think about opening up the list and taking any more names.
Well, I'm very honoured to be here, mate, for a three-night guestie. I think the fishing's going to be a little bit tricky, though, isn't it? It's not an easy water, this place.
It's not an easy water. I mean, it has its moments. When we were talking yesterday, one of the guys earlier on this year had like 5 fish in a 3-night session down here, and there's other guys that have fished down here all year and haven't had a bite. And you can have anything in between. But, you know, you're looking at, if you can... The top rod on the lake will have somewhere between 15 and 20 fish in a season, and really you're looking at getting 1 bite at a time. You get one. If you catch 1 fish, then you've had a good session. But as I was saying again yesterday, half the time when you get 1 bite, you get another bite as well. It's that sort of water. You'll do 6 sessions without coming close to a fish, and then you'll have 2 bites in 2 hours in the morning, and then the fish move off, and that's it, over.
Well, let's see how it goes, mate. We've got 72 hours ahead of us, and during the course of this little film we're going to take a look at a bit of things like tactics, tackle, and how to tackle this venue, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we might catch ourselves 1 or 2 fish, mate. Well,
I fancy our chances to have at least 1. That would be obviously for the filming purposes. It would be nice for everybody to be able to actually see one on the bank. But you know, it's September now, isn't it? So
conditions
are
good.
We're definitely on them. So
there's been fish coming out the last few days as well, aren't there, over the weekend?
Yeah, I think there was half a dozen bites at the weekend. You know, one of the big ones, Jamie's, came out at 39 at the weekend. So conditions are looking good. So we'll
see how it goes.
Keep our fingers crossed and hope something turns up.
See how it goes. I feel like I've been on the go all day today. It's 6:15 and I've finally got my rods out and nice and confident with all 3 of them as well. So I'll just give you a bit of a talk through what they're doing. Left hand rod is probably the closest in. It's in line with the middle of the island, about 50 yards out. There's a nice big weed bed there. I'm just at the back of that weed. The middle rod, you can just see in line with the swim on the far bank where the green boat is. There's some surface weed there. I'm just behind that surface weed. And then the right hand rod, that's just down here, just on the edge of the ripple really, at about 50 yards range. And all 3 rods have just got on different tactics. I've got the right hand rod with most of the bait out there. There's probably about a couple of kilos of bait in the clear there. Middle rod, roughly about 100 baits or so, and then the left hand rod, only a half a dozen or so baits over that one. So all 3 rods, different strategy, trying to find out where the fish are. I know there's fish in this area because there was carp caught at the weekend from around here. I've had a look around the whole lake. I've been cruising around most of the morning. and the other side to the right hand, as you're looking at this shot, the other end of the lake, that's really clear up there, but this end is nice and murky, so I'm fairly sure there's quite a few fish at this end of the lake. We know there's been carp caught down here last week and in the week before, but it definitely looks more carpy out there, so yeah, relatively happy. So we'll see how the first night goes, and then we'll take a look tomorrow. Alan's just texted me to tell me that a lad who's fishing by the car park right by the gate has just caught one of the really nice scaly mirrors that Roach Pit is known for. So let's go around and take a look at it. Carp,
Oh,
yes.
is that scattered scale, the one I had the other week?
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think so.
What an absolute banger.
Yeah, it was £30 4 a couple of weeks ago. So I thought it.
They look good.
Yeah, mega. So let's have a quick look at the end tackle that I'm using today. It's not too dissimilar to what you've seen on some of my recent blogs. It's very simple really, and you're not allowed to use leaders on this lake, so I'm fishing straight through, and I've got £15 camo outline on there. That's straight through to the reel. I've got a lead clip with a 4-ounce lead on, and then for the hook link, roughly 8 inches of captive coated hook link. That's £25, and all I've done is taken all of the outer coating off there, so we're left with this nice supple braid. We've got a size 4 hook on. That's knotless knotted to the hook link. We've got a little liner on there just pushed over the eye of the hook, and then for the hook bait we've got a snowman presentation, 18mm SLK on there, that's a bottom bait, and then we've got a PB pop up on the top, and all I've done is trimmed the pop up so the actual hook bait itself just critically balances and sinks ever so slowly. So really simple, and hopefully it's going to do us a bite or two. Only last week I was over in Germany where the weather conditions weren't that good for carp fishing. It was mid-30s and high pressure most days, so I found myself sat in the bivvy longing to be in the UK in perfect carp conditions, and it's fair to say that at the moment we ain't too far off where I was dreaming about, because at the moment we've got a nice breeze blowing across the lake. It's low pressure, probably about 16-17 degrees. There's a little bit of light drizzle in the air as well, and out in front the water's nice and murky. If you go to the other side of the lake, it's almost like tap water over there, so something's clearly disturbing the bottom and having a mooch about. The other good thing at the moment is it's September. Now this is the time of the year when I really do like being in the UK, because you tend to find a lot of pressure on the UK's waters. The fish get battered in the springtime as everybody comes out from winter. It continues through summer as everybody's on holiday. So the fish know what lines are all about, they know what anglers are all about, and they start getting a little bit moody. But when you get to September, the temperatures start to decrease, some of the natural food levels start to deplete as well, and the fish turn to anglers' bait. You also see a slight reduction in anglers as well. You start seeing the harder core anglers sitting out there because they know that any time soon the big fish are going to start getting caught. The fishing's moody. You'll then start to see one or two of the smaller fish start getting caught, and then they'll switch off, and then you're left with the big uns who, at this time of the year, they're always looking good and they're always at good weights as well. So I'm actually sat here today really confident, and I'm on a really famous big fish water. I know there's some big fish near that are all due out. So you can imagine how I'm feeling at the moment. So I'm sitting here knowing that at any minute one of these rods could burst into life, and that is a great feeling, because sometimes when it comes to carp fishing, you sat there, you know that something's not going to happen, something's not right, the conditions ain't right, and at the moment it's not how I'm feeling. I'm feeling pretty confident, so all that's left now is for a good dose of luck, and if the carp gods are on my side, anything can happen. This month's product plug is the Avid Carp Comfort Pillow. There isn't a great deal I can say about a pillow because we all like particular types. I can't stand feather pillows, I prefer soft sponge, and that's basically what this one is made from. There are two different sizes, a large and a standard, and they both feature a soft fleece cover on one side and a smooth cotton face on the other. There's a zip which allows you to access the inner and wash the cover, and I honestly don't think you'll find as comfortable a carp pillow on the market. Some of my friends who work for rival companies use this pillow because it's so soft and comfortable, unlike some of the breeze blocks you'll see from other brands. They retail at $24.99 for the large and $19.99 for the standard, but you'll pick either of them up for much cheaper if you shop around on the net. For more info on the dimensions, etc., check out avidcarp.com. Morning, and apologies for the misty screen. It looks misty from my end, don't it looks like at your end, but it's probably down to the damp conditions because it is still relatively damp now. It is perfect carp conditions, but not a great deal's been happening. We're 2 nights in now, and I've had a tench on my middle rod in the early hours, but there's still fish dotted about. I've seen them, and I know them in the right area. Alan's not had anything. He's a few swims around to my left as well, so it is just a case of sitting and waiting for them to have a feed. You know, this particular lake, it's not an easy water at all. It's not got a great deal of carp in here for the acreage, but you know, they are coming out. There was fish getting caught from here before we came down here. Now, a lot of people who are new to carp fishing probably think, well, why don't you change your bait, change your rigs? But that isn't necessarily always what you need to do to get a bite on some of these waters. If you're going to a day ticket lake, then yeah, you do need to try and chop and change things a lot of the time. But here, I'm happy with my rigs. I know that they work. I know that the SLK, you can take it anywhere and catch fish with it. And it is more than likely just a case of these fish ain't easy. And sometimes you've just got to sit down and wait for it to happen. Be confident in the spots that you're fishing. And I'm definitely confident on 2 of the rods. The one rod I'm not so happy about, so probably today I might go out there and have a little look about and see if I can find a different area. But the one thing I don't want to do is disturb the swim too much, because when you go out in a boat you start knocking and banging things, you can't help it sometimes, and the fish then know that there's danger about. And on a water like this, which you've seen everything over the years, I don't think it's a case of just rigs and bait. It's more to do with being discreet and just waiting for them, and that's what we've got to basically do, is just wait for them and hope that something happens in the last 24 hours.
Two days in, usual Roach Pit. You know, the difficult waters, the tricky waters with not lots of fish in them, and they're about. They're definitely feeding. They're definitely feeding on the spots. I don't know whether they're feeding hard enough to actually make mistakes at the moment.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people don't realise. It's not.
You can't just rock up here, can you, and start catching them?
No, it's not just a case of getting on them, and if they're feeding, you'll catch them. They need to be feeding hard enough to make mistakes. They're clued up fish.
Yeah.
They know the score. They've seen it all before. For 20, 30 years. Some of them. And
I heard a few bleeps this morning though from where I was. What happened, mate? Was it your margin rod down here?
A little rod poked behind the bushes here, behind my bivvy. And yesterday morning, I had a little burst of beeps on it. Now it's literally half a rod length out on the shelf in like 2.5 feet of water, and the fish had obviously come in, picked up my hook bait and then thrown the bait. It wasn't a liner. You get single beep liners when they're power rolling along the shelf and disturbing stuff, but I've got a sneaking suspicion it's just one fish patrolling and feeding on its own, which is being more careful, more difficult to catch. And then this morning, same thing happened again. It's burst of 4 beeps and nothing.
It's done you again, hasn't it?
It's just turned me over again. So obviously a rethink on the rig, maybe a bigger lead and a slightly shorter hook length. But you have to piece these jigsaws together a little bit by little bit. You're not going to come down and go, well, I had a bite yesterday morning, I'm going to get a bite this morning, and I'll get one tomorrow before I go home. It's not going to work like that. Sometimes you have to get turned over half a dozen times before you manage to make that fish make a mistake. And then obviously, the prize at the end of it is worth all of the effort. It's piecing the jigsaw puzzle together.
We've still got 24 hours left, haven't we, as well? So
we've got 24 hours. So
good conditions and that. So we just could you never know, just end up getting one.
Yeah, it's looking promising. I mean, the open water spot, there was fish all around the area between me and you.
Yeah.
They were sloshing around out here at 10, 11 o'clock last night. You know, a good 8 to 10 fish turned over in a half-hour period, all around my bay. I've had 2 beep liners on both of those rods that are on the same spot.
Yeah.
Constantly throughout the night until sort of 8:30 this morning. They've been every 45 minutes. One of them's been giving a little bleat, but again, nothing. I caught 2 fish off of that spot last week. The spot's cleaned right up. They're definitely up for it. I've been baiting it for the best part of 7-8 weeks now, and so they know that the food's gonna be there.
Yeah.
But when they're not feeding aggressively and they're not feeding hard, they're very, very tricky to make a mistake. They're smarter than we give them credit for, you know, for actually getting rid of rigs.
Oh, totally agree with that.
You know, I think that's what's happening at the moment. Some of these 2 beeps that I'm having are more than likely actual pickups off the fish. So. You know, we'll bring them in, we'll put some new fresh rigs on, and we'll get them placed back out there later on, and cross our fingers. That's pretty much all you can do.
That's all you can do, isn't it, mate? Yeah. Nice one. Wow, that's an awesome sight to wake up to, but we've only got a few hours left before I have to pack up and head off home. Now, on this kind of water, it always pays off to have a bit of patience, and I'm just hoping that in these last few hours that the carp gods are looking down on me and we can pull this one out of the bag. Just buzzing to get my first one from Roach Pit. Left hand rod, just at the back of some weed, and yeah, good boat battle as well. So proper buzzing. Roach Pit fish. Didn't think I was going to get one when I got this, woke up this morning, because didn't see anything showing in front of me. Saw a few showing in front of coops to the left over there on that plateau area, but nothing in front of me. And then I was just pottering around behind the bivvy, a couple of bleeps, rod starts tightening up into the weed, into the boat, in the net. Awesome. Well, there you go. I am absolutely buzzing with that, because Coops has just told me it's one of the originals, and it's a fish that he's not had himself, so that is just absolute jamminess of the highest order, because I've always wanted to fish at Roach Pit, and it's a long drive to get down here, so to get down here and just catch one fish and for it to be an original is just the stuff of dreams. So a massive thank you to you, mate, for making it happen. So come in the shop please, Coops. Come on, mate, come sit next to me.
Couldn't give you a drink.
You've made it all possible for me, mate, so thank you very much, mate.
Which is nice.
Lovely, what a great way to end. Fantastic little short session down here, and absolutely buzzing.
You should be as well.
Cheers, mate.
That's a proper one.
Cheers, brother.